And the more I talked, and the more I listened, there was a lot of people just like me.
At 12, I was told not to bother going to church because God wouldn't even want me. My thought was if I was going to hell anyway, I might as well have a good time till I got there.
Listening is our central criterion for everything we do. The cafe is listening space.
How are you doing?
It's a place that I'll call home and go till my dying day.
I used to self-medicate by going to bars and drinking, just to get rid of the pain and stuff. And I knew I couldn't do that no more. And somebody told me about this place.
I walked in, and there was just a presence here. You could feel that God was here. And even if you weren't sure, you couldn't explain it, but you knew something was different.
A lot of times people come in, you can't really see the hurt on the face, really don't know what they go through. So it's good to sit around among each other, fellowship, and express, what you're going through.
What this is an intentional expression of the gospel in tangible ways. The first questions are not how can we make money doing this, or how can we be present, or how can we win converts, but rather how can we present the gospel in a tangible way that is transformative, not just of individual lives, but of the whole city. When I arrived and found 48 churches and 13,000 people, I figured it was over-churched, and to start another church was probably not the answer.
To be honoring of the people here, you can't just step in and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this for you. They don't accept it because you're not honoring who they are as an individual, you're honoring the community.
For 9 months, I looked around, talked to people on the street, talked to people in churches. Guys in the bars and on the street and in the churches were saying that there's lots of churches and lots of bars, but nowhere you can go that you don't get drunk or preached at. With all of those things in mind, I looked around for a space to create community outside the church building that we were given. So we bought this building for $1,000. So as a church, it's a no preaching zone. We don't preach. You'll hear about Saturday night's church, and it's about allowing people to speak how they receive the gospel and to testify to the work of God in their life.
We sit around the table and have dinner and talk about our Father and talk about Jesus and where are we and what is He doing for us. And we spend time together.
It's run like a big, huge family meal with God sitting at the head as dad, I guess is the best way to put it.
You don't have to be in any particular place to have a place at this table.
That's what I needed. I needed somebody to take that time to say I was worthwhile. And then slowly, well, are you aware that God loves you too?
I actually sit down to lead people in prayer, which is, like I said, it's mind-boggling. A year ago, going from, I guess you could call me an agnostic or whatever, to somebody who actually really does believe and has seen His little miracles. And I guess I'm one of them.
Aliquippa, about 15 miles from where Jennifer and I and the family lived and served the Baldwin community. And Aliquippa really got hit hard back in the 80s, the steel mill industry falling apart and disintegrating. And that's why you can buy buildings for $1,000 in Aliquippa. But It's just amazing to hear what God is doing through the life of Uncommon Grounds, and how people are responding to the gospel in new and creative ways in the community that we know as Al-Quip. You know, this is a video that captured my attention in preparing for today's message. The video itself is incredible, but there is one particular point in this message, in this video, that captured my attention. Maria, remember Maria, the one that was the kitchen manager? This is what she said when she was interviewed. She said this: I needed someone to take the time to say I was worthwhile. And then you are aware that God loves you. She needed to hear. She needed to hear from someone else that she was worthwhile. You know, because she was saying in this video that her life was a mess. That she didn't have anything figured out. That she didn't know where to turn. That she was just going through the motions, and she was hitting a very dark place in her life. And that's what she was saying. She said, I needed someone. I needed someone to take the time to see me for who I am. And for then, I realized that God's love is upon me too. For that, I'm grateful. And at that moment, she come to that realization that God does indeed love her, a messed up individual that she is. You know, she did not need someone going to her and telling her how messed up she was. She already knew that. But what she needed was God's grace. To tell her that she was a child of God. And let God do the work inside of her. You know, for many, we have found ourselves in a place of darkness where we can't see emotionally, we can't see spiritually, and God uses someone in our lives to share their faith, to share their love, that takes us from those moments of spiritual blindness and brings us into the light. And there are those times where someone we engage with is going through that hardship. And God uses us to bring the light to them. And we can truly experience God in faith sharing. Amen. Amen. Today we turn to John chapter 9. And these 41 verses are devoted entirely here to a blind man. Now there's a lot of things going on in this chapter, but for today we're going to look at the first 12 verses. You have your Bibles with you. I invite you to open up, or you can take a look up on screen here this morning. This comes from John chapter 9. As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, it was not this man that sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And having said these things, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva. Then he anointed the man's eyes with mud. And he said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar were saying, is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Some said, it is he. Others said, no, but he is like him. And he kept saying, I am the man. And so they said to him, then how were your eyes open? And he answered, the man called Jesus made mud and anointed my eyes and said to me, go to Siloam and wash. So I went and I washed and I received my sight. And he said to him, where is he? He said, I do not know. Here's a man who had never seen the light. Never. You know, it reminds me of the words of Helen Keller. Helen Keller once said, gradually I got used to the silence and darkness that surrounded me and forgot that it had been different until she came, my teacher, who set my spirit free. Darkness was all that this beggar knew. He didn't know any different. Darkness was normal. You know, this man could not see the vast sky that was blue. He couldn't see the green leaves on a tree. This man couldn't see the sunsets at night and the orange of the skies. He couldn't see any of that. And as he begged outside the temple, he heard a voice. I'm sure he heard a lot because he couldn't see. And so he heard this voice. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And then, in the usual silence that probably followed, he heard the man next to him. Right next to him. And he gently spit upon the ground. Now, for someone who can't see, you probably could hear and feel every little poke or every little vibration that went on. He probably heard the spit hit the ground. And he's sitting here and he hears that spit hit the ground. And he feels those gentle hands apply the spit to the mud. And that damp clay is being formed and wiped on his eyes. And he hears those words, go and wash in the cool side. And he gets up and goes. And I wonder how he felt. He probably felt a little bit foolish, don't you think? I mean, even though he was blind, he had to know that something was going on around him, and there were a bunch of people gathered, and they were all looking at him. And he probably didn't want to have people looking at him. So here he is, he's making his way to the pool. People are staring, they're all looking. And he got mud all over his face. I bet you that heart was pounding. Can you imagine? Never being able to see it. Here somebody's wiping mud on your face and telling you to go to a pool and wash it off. And he's probably thinking to himself, what if this really works? And all the same time feeling foolish for having to be displayed in front of people. And then all of a sudden it happens. This blind man washes in silence and he sees. And he looks down and just imagine looking down and being able to see for the first time. You're probably looking into the water and you're seeing that reflection of your own face. And there's probably an excitement that's building up. And then you look up and you see the skies and you see the trees and you see the people that are all around him and you see Jesus. And how the heart is pounding at that moment. Of joy. Thanksgiving, peace, and comfort. And I'm sure he probably wasn't thinking, oh, I better get back to begging again. I wouldn't say that. I mean, after being blind all your life and being able to see, what would you do? Anybody? You guys would do nothing? Hope, what would you do? You'd what? You'd what? Well, you go see what you look like. So you might take a selfie. No? The guy's probably doing a selfie. What about back there? I can't see who we are, but I see a hand. Addison, what would you do? Yeah, you'd jump up and down with excitement, wouldn't you? This is good news. This is worth sharing. And I would go and I'd tell people, look what this Jesus did for me. I couldn't say it, now I can. Definitely I'd be jumping. I'd be thrilled. Because this man named Jesus did something for me that nobody else could ever do. I can see. Go and wash the pool. And look what happens. You know, I posted this picture. This is just a few weeks ago. It was a holy moon, wasn't Chad? And there's Tyler. And Julia, Emily, Parker, and Tyler, and Kylie, all being baptized right there at St. Simon's Sound. And the backdrop was amazing, you know. As we went down the steps into the water, it was high tide, so there's no walking onto the beach. You're walking right into the water from the steps. Chad went first. He tested the waters for us. So Chad went and tested the waters. We get down there, and when you look up from the bottom and you look up at the steps, there's people everywhere. The people that came to see the baptism, and also people from the public who stopped what they were doing and they looked. But another thing that really only Chad and I and those receiving baptism saw was directly above the steps was the lighthouse. And I looked up and I saw the light. And it just brings such a vivid reminder that that lighthouse posed that it's God's light shining in a world of darkness so that the seeing people can come in to safety and security. And here we see in the scriptures, go to the pool and wash, because I am the light of the world as long as I'm in this world. And the man washes and he sees. You know, this passage focuses so much on the man receiving sight, which is so vital for our faith journey and our development. But this passage also teaches us a very important lesson. One where when I was working on this message this week, I thought about it. I'm like, there's also another aspect to this. You know, the man receives the sight from the healing hands of Jesus Christ. We focus on the man quite a bit. But what we also see is Jesus. Jesus goes to the man and lays his hands upon him with this mud, and he's healed. You know, sure, Jesus could have spoken the words. Just like when we go back to John chapter 4, we see the Roman official son, he's being healed. And Jesus spoke those words from a distance. Sure, Jesus could have done that. But here we see that Jesus went directly to, and he shared his faith. Jesus shared faith by being present in the moment and going to the blind man. About 8 months ago, we took a ride along County Road 210 on a Monday morning. I started out over by US 1, and about 2 hours later, I ended up over right by 13 off of Creek Road. And I met with Debbie the next day. And she asked me, based upon your drive, what did you see? I said, I saw beautiful homes. I saw the American dream. And I saw people who have it all. And then she asked me this. What is God putting on your heart? And I told her this. When I drove yesterday, all I kept hearing was this. People need the Lord. People need the Lord. And why do I say this? Because although there are signs in St. Johns County that say we have homes that have 3 to 7 bedrooms, as you can see, we've got room for everybody. It's a big party. Rooms for everyone. Now, I'm not just promoting this group here, because I know a few of you work for other developments, but you don't have 3 to 7 bedroom home signs. That's the only one I found. You know, although there are nice cars out there along St. Johns County Road 210, and manicured lawns, oh, people take care of their lawns down there. What I find is people still need hope. They need joy in Jesus Christ. Because they're spiritually blind. Spiritually blind to the true joy of having that deeper relationship with Jesus Christ. You know, I, as a follower of Jesus Christ, want people to know the greatest joy that comes in this world. And that's having a life with Jesus. And that's why I want to share my faith. You know, I get these paper plate awards on youth trips, confirmation trips, and I got more, most likely to, eat with strangers, talk to strangers. It's just something I like to do. I met a real nice stranger this past confirmation retreat. For those of you in confirmation, it was a story. That's another sermon. But deep down, shouldn't we all have that? That desire to share our faith to everybody? To the waiter, to the waitress, to a classmate who's been bullied. Maybe to a neighbor who no one talks to. And we don't either. Maybe a relative who's been estranged from so many people. And we're part of that too. I want people to know that the greatest joy is there. And it's my desire to help them see that, to be used as an instrument. You know, it's not just the work of Pastor Jeff, or Pastor Debbie, or Pastor Will, or Pastor Mike. But it's the work of each and every one of us. And that's the cost of being a fully devoted follower of Jesus. But it's not a cost, is it? It really should be a joy to be able to share it. And all of you can share your faith right now in this very moment. Do you know that? You all can share it. So we're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to do some faith sharing with you all today. You know, we have this thing called a phone. And it could be used for bad. It could be used for good. Some of you out there do it better than others. I saw some posts when I woke up this morning. Last night's Connection Band worship time. Yeah, at Salem Center. Diane was going to town, sharing her faith and her love for Jesus. So everyone pull out your phone right now. All right? Everyone got their phones. Now, if you don't have a phone, I invite you to use email, maybe, email, or even written letter. You can do that. We still sell pens and pencils, right? Okay. All right, so you can still do pen and paper. Pull out your phone. And I want you to take a moment to get on your favorite social media platform. It could be Snapchat, it could be Twitter, it could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, or whatever else there is out there nowadays. I want you to get out there. I want you to post a picture, a selfie, post, whatever. And I simply want you to say this. Learning about faith sharing today. God loves you, and so do I. Okay? God loves you, and so do I. Now, as you're doing this, somehow, some way, God's going to do a mighty work in this experiment. Because someone's going to reply back to you sometime during the day and say, hey, I really needed to hear that because I'm really having a terrible day. Post that picture and see what God will do through the conversation. All right, so I'm gonna go over here. I'm going to get selfie with my wife and my daughter. All right, my daughter. All right, you ready? Whoops, I got to figure out how to turn it around. Okay, you ready? All right, now get on there. Get on your favorite social media platform, and let's see how fast I can do this. All right, post. Everybody getting their selfies? Okay. And even tag the church if you want to. That way people know where it was at. All right, you're posted. And throughout the day, someone, somewhere, maybe it's somebody you went to high school with 10, 15, maybe 40 years ago, somewhere will reply maybe back to you. Just say, hey, how's it going? I've really been in a dark place lately, and I just need to reach out to you. And that's a new way we can do this in this age of digital technology, of sharing God's love. You know, you don't have to just do this here now. You can do it on a Monday. You can do it on a Wednesday, on a Friday. And you don't really need to be reminded by Pastor Jeff. You can simply just wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to take a picture of that sunrise. I'm going to post a verse to it, or a lyric, or something that struck me. Or even just say, have a blessed day. And see what God will do through that conversation. And that's simple faith sharing 101. To let other people know about the joy of having a relationship with Jesus Christ. I'm going to take it one more step. You heard Caleb talk this morning about fresh expressions. And then you've heard about kayaking. You've heard maybe a little bit about beer and hymns, where Bill and Will, Pastor Will, are launching in, and we had almost 50 people show up at the first one. But did you know that there's another person who's not a pastor, but he's an attorney here in Jacksonville. And we have this attorney here with us today. But he's also a husband. And he's a dad. He's a good dad. And a great husband. And a dear brother of mine who, over this past year, we've seen God do a mighty work in him. And he's going to share a little testimony with us here this morning. Brother Nick, I invite you to come in.
Hello. The last time I was asked to speak during a sermon was when I was 10 years old on Youth Sunday. I bombed. It was awful. It was really bad. But apparently the church's memory lasts about a quarter of a century. So I'm back up again. And Pastor Jeff asked me to talk about fresh expressions. And it's not 100% clear if people understand what that is. I'm not 100% sure. But you kind of saw it in the example of it. It's where you take Christian love, Jesus Christ, and fellowship out into this ordinary world, and you do it with your friends from church. And they asked if I'd be interested in doing it, and I did. And it's called Sports and Ministry, and we go to a sports bar and hang out. It's not as big as Beer and Him yet, and it's not as big as kayaking. It may never be, but that's okay. When Pastor Jeff asked me to talk about it, kind of what I thought was that Fresh Expressions shouldn't be, 3 of them that's 100 people. It should be 100 of them that's maybe even just 3 people. Everyone should be thinking about how they can get involved and get out and take what we have here, which is so special, out into the world. And so I figured if I talk real quick, I would say I'd encourage you to think yourself about doing a Fresh Expression. And I'd have 4 general guidelines or rules that I've learned. The first is you should do something you enjoy. Mine is going to a sports bar watching sports, which I really enjoy. And my wife is not as big of a fan of that, but I've been able to, she's not here so I can share the secret, I've been able to say, honey, I have to go, it's for church. And she figured that out pretty quick, but I still am allowed to go. The other one is you want to do something that other people would enjoy. I'm kind of a dork, and so I like reading old history books. I thought about it and said, no, a history club's probably not going to get 2 people there. I'll be by myself. And then this is a practical matter. When you're thinking about it, be methodical, be disciplined about it. Beer and Hymns has set the standard right off the bat, and so is Jeff. You set a date, and then you just keep repeating it. And I've not been as good about that, but if you do and you're methodical about it, that produces good results. And then the one thing I think will stop a lot of people from doing it is a fear of failure. And there I would say that's just nonsense, because you can't fail. First off, you can't fail if God's got your back. It's not going to be a failure. And also, even if you do it for 6 months, almost no one shows up, but you made a difference in one person's life. To God, that will not be a failure. It shouldn't be a failure to you. And heck, you may not affect any other person, but if you put your heart into it, you'll affect yourself in a positive way. And then it will not be a failure. And so what I would just say is, you can do it. You should do it. You should think about it now. Time flies. Before you know it, this day will be over. This week will be over. This month will be over. The quarter century will be over. I'll be back up again talking. And you don't want to have not done it. So just think about it. What do you enjoy? What does other people enjoy that you would enjoy? Be methodical about it. And do not be afraid of failing. It's not physically possible. So I would say, think about that. Ask yourself today, what is it that I could be doing that would be a fresh expression in the community? And if you can't think of anything, come to mind. It's May 19th. We're going to be at a sports bar in Mandarin. I'll put it on Facebook. Everyone's welcome to come. The times we've gone, it's a really diverse crowd. There's people that are younger than me. There's people that are older than me, men and women. And it's been fun. I know a guy I invited who was a friend of mine who came to church today, who was not previously a member. So thank you, Pastor Jeff. That's essentially what I had.
Now, this is what, as Nick said, anybody can do this. I highly encourage you. Nick not only is doing sports and ministry, but on Thursday mornings from 7 to 7:30, you can go down and have a cup of coffee with Nick. And he'll do a half-hour Bible study with you in a discipleship group. It's called Gospel 365. And you just keep reading the scriptures of the Gospels. And have a little time of discussion, prayer for each other, and you're on your way to work or school or wherever you need to go. But, Nick is down there sitting having a good cup of coffee, Dunkin' Donuts on County Road 210. And I am so grateful for Nick because Nick is experiencing God through faith, Chip. Amen? I have really watched this man in years' time grow in passion and faith and turned it into action. And that's what we need more. We need more passion turning into action. Because as he said, he'll be back up here in 25 years. And he'll be speaking again on this thing. And we need people who are willing to let go of the fears and turn their faith into action. And I pray for all the efforts that are out there, that they won't just lead to a few, but it'll start leading into multiplication. And it will see the kingdom of God grow in mighty and new, fresh ways. You know, people need the Lord. And they need to hear it from each one of us. Each one of us here, people need to hear the Lord from you. And as I come to a close, I just want to invite you to take a look up on the screen. You're going to see a video of another fresh expression that's taking place. And this is really cool. This is happening up in North Carolina. A little area called Tobacco Trail. Used to be tobacco mills all along this area. And they turned it into a running trail. And take a look and see what God's doing in Faith Share at Tobacco Trail.
Fresh expressions combine common interests and shared needs. Here in Durham, North Carolina, a group of runners is finding faith community on the trail.
What's great about running is it's a sort of bumping on the edge. Like it's easy to just, I would go for a run, or you see someone out for a run, and you haven't laid down the whole gospel on them. Like it'd be fine if just the whole run occurred and you didn't talk about Jesus at all. My name is George Linney, and I'm the pastor of the Tobacco Trail Church in Durham, North Carolina. When this came about, I wasn't working in traditional church. I was working at REI and at Bull City Run Company. I was commuting back and forth on the American Tobacco Trail daily. And God kept saying over and over and over, this is good, but this needs something else to it. It needs this claimed and named Trinity right out here in this space. And you're going to do it. And you're going to think for a while that you're not going to do it. A church came about because I just kept doing the same thing day after day, which was riding my bike on a shared common greenway space. That's like reading the Psalms day after day after day. It's not forced, it's not contrived. We just sort of showed up and did it. The American Tobacco Trail was once a railroad. They would manufacture tobacco and cigarettes and cigars and that kind of thing and run them south and then east and west to Charlotte and the beach. And then that all went away. And then there was this abandoned railroad. And it got turned over and became finally an asphalt trail. Look at what you're already doing and just start naming it and claiming it as God's work in the world. Daily ask the question, what's God doing here? What's God doing here at Brugger's? We have B3, that are Boys, Brugger's, and Bibles. We have a men's group every week. We read the scripture a chapter ahead of what I'm going to preach. Through quirky word phrases like W3, women, wine, the world. What's God doing here? Who's going to come to this little cell group part of the church, even if they never come to worship, even if they never tithe $1, who will come because Virginia's their friend, because they work with Helen? What are you already passionate about doing in your life? For me, that's running. It's enough to sort of be known locally, and it's what I've got. It's how people know me in this town. It's part of my profession. Through the church, it gives me energy to preach, to write, to manage a specialty running store. Most of the people at the Tobacco Trail Church are not competitive runners. We don't just run. People think they're going to come and they're just going to be a part of a run or a bike ride. We pretty much just worship. There are risks in everybody's life, Christian and non-Christian, that you're not taking, and God is nudging you clearly, saying, like He was to me, Noah, go ahead and worship on this trail, and saying, you got to take this risk. If you chase the dreams of someone else, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be this pleaser that never is pleasing to God. Everything that you need to glorify God is already inside of you. You got it. What are you good at? Do that really well and share it with others.